Welcome to Short-Term Rentals 101, a presentation of Key Data Dashboard. This topic is long overdue as the conversation about vacation rentals has become very convoluted, and it's my aim to fix that, or at least start to today. I'm not going to sell you anything. I just want to teach you a little bit about how destinations need to focus on where the data is coming from when they're assessing the value and performance of vacation rental managers in their destination. My name is Daniel Leifeld. I am the Director of DMO Sales here at Key Data. We work with destinations all over the United States to bring them data direct from source for the vacation rental market. Now, when I said vacation rental, did you hear Airbnb or VRBO? Or did you hear timeshare or home sharing? Well, these are all very different things. Vacation rentals are listed on multiple marketplaces, and they're also known as OTAs. Those are the ones like Airbnb and Vrbo, Kayak, TripAdvisor, Hotwire, Orbitz. You've heard all of these since the mid-2000s. But vacation rentals from OTAs are most likely professionally managed properties by vacation rental managers. We estimate that around 60% of the inventory on Airbnb and VRBO is actually professionally managed by vacation rental managers. There are a ton of ways this affects destinations trying to prepare budgets based on the projected revenue, because there are different dynamics that exist with professional property managers versus rent by owners, and that involves heavily the OTAs. The distinction between rental by owner and vacation rental managers shouldn't be made lightly. Vacation rental managers usually manage up to 600 properties or even 6,000 properties with franchisors like Vacasa, iTrip, Turnkey, Evolve, etc. These vacation rental managers usually bring in more money for your destination per room because they are attracting groups. You're talking a lot of families, a lot of businesses. Large groups of people typically tend to rent vacation rentals. Because these are all local companies, the money stays in your market. When the money stays in your market, you also attribute jobs to these vacation rental managers, hundreds of jobs in many situations. For example, one company in Florida that manages 630 vacation rentals has over 100 employees. That means a large number of people that work in your destination, have homes in your destination, have kids in your destination. The effects are long-ranging throughout the vacation rental industry. The difference there between vacation rental managers and rental by owners is most people, when they hear vacation rental and they think Airbnb, they think of John who's renting out his home in his backyard. But that's simply not the case. These are professional property managers who have teams of people in your destination, and the economic effects of having that team are pretty deep. There's also less health risk with vacation rental managers in your market. Let's imagine a situation where you go and stay in a hotel. You got to touch the buttons on the hotel elevator. You have to check in at the front desk. With vacation rentals, you typically have a keyless entry situation where the guest arrives at the home and walks into the house without touching another surface that anyone else has touched in the last 24 hours. There are also different styles of vacation rental managers. There's lease arbitrage, which is where you rent a property and then you have the right to rent it out as many times as you want during your lease. There's also self-owned properties, which is a high-risk situation for an investor, but the self-owned properties are typically 100% owned by the property manager, and then they get to keep 100% of the reservations. These are usually 5 to 10 unit companies. However, the most popular form of vacation rental management is what I'm going to call traditional property managers. These are people who manage homes for other people. So you might have somebody from Atlanta who buys a beach home in Florida, and they come down and spend 3 weeks a year at that property. Well, the other 49 weeks are now rentable. And so they find a vacation rental manager to take care of the property when they're not using it. The vacation rental managers are better at cleaning, marketing, and guest relations than that property would be if it was managed by the owner of the property because they're all the way in Atlanta. So they hire this vacation rental manager to take care of the home that they bought on the beach when they're not there. The point with a vacation rental manager that really matters for you when we're talking about that scenario is that the vacation rental manager better markets their properties, which means they make more money on that individual property. Now, these vacation rental managers who are operating other people's properties are operating on extremely thin margins, usually only taking about 25% of the reservation. So let's bring up the point about listing on OTAs. A vacation rental manager making 25% of a reservation will list that property on Airbnb and VRBO. They typically have to pay about 5%, maybe 10% of a reservation to have that listing on VRBO or Airbnb. When you're operating on 25%, giving away 5 to 10% is a big ask. So many vacation rental managers are not listing on the OTAs. However, it is helpful to have more visibility on an individual property. But that brings up another problem. If you have 100 different vacation rentals, how do you manage a unit in all of these different OTAs? The answer is that you have to use a property management system. And there are about 30 different property management systems that are really widely used in the United States. There's probably another 30 that are used somewhat, and there's probably another hundreds and hundreds that are property managers using their own system that they built from the ground up. These property management systems are the central hub for all rental operations. But for the purposes of this conversation, they are the source of the listings on the OTAs. Some property management systems don't play well with others. Some property management systems don't have a connection to Airbnb or Vrbo. Some vacation rental managers also don't like certain OTAs. For example, when Airbnb refunded every guest's reservations and canceled them all at the beginning of this whole COVID thing, that rubbed a lot of vacation rental managers the wrong way, and they pulled their listings from Airbnb. Now, some property management systems are actually owned by an OTA. For example, Vrbo owns one of the most popular softwares in the vacation rental industry called Escapia. So Escapia users don't have a direct connection to Airbnb, and therefore, a lot of people who use Escapia, which is a substantial number of people, don't list on Airbnb because it's too complicated to get the unit on the site. Now, some markets also don't need OTAs. They have 100% occupancy all their high seasons, so they just don't list on the OTAs during that time period. Or some OTAs maybe aren't popular with a visitor profile. Maybe you are concentrating on getting older guests. Well, you might not go after the Airbnb crowd. Whereas maybe you're operating in California where Airbnb is located and Airbnb is prevalent, and you might not list at all on VRBO. The bottom line here is that with all of these considerations, many vacation rental managers choose not to list on the OTAs at all, or only do so sometimes for some properties and only on some OTAs. Destinations relying on scraped data can be dangerous. Scraping can't see owner stays or maintenance holds or what a reservation was actually worth. And that causes tons of problems when you look at your data for vacation rentals. For example, to make a unit a more attractive listing, a property manager might list without fees, which can be very large. In addition, vacation rental managers can offer concierge and add-ons that can amount to hundreds of thousands of dollars per property manager. For example, let's imagine you're staying in a unit for $100 per night. The vacation rental manager can then say, well, if you want to rent a boat, that'll be $300 a night. And if you want to have a beach bonfire, that'll be another $150. These are all things that are called additional revenue and are not reflected in scraped data from the OTAs. Now, some units don't need those OTAs, like we covered. So if a VRM doesn't list, the scraped data not only isn't accurate, but it doesn't include a substantial amount of the actual inventory, which makes the data even more flawed. Now, self-managed units, usually only on the OTAs, may be managed from hundreds of miles away. So let's take into account that person who owns a home in Florida, but they live in Atlanta, and they're managing that property from all the way in Atlanta. That person is not able to provide the cleaning services as well as a local vacation rental manager. They can't provide as good of service like amenities. They can't provide directions. They can't provide a lot of the things that a local vacation rental manager can. And therefore, those rent by owner properties, which are listed only on the OTAs, create a big flaw in the data because they can't charge as much. Because they don't have as good of service and they're a lower tier product, that's going to skew your data as well when you scrape data from OTAs. So, where does key data come into this? Well, we do direct connections with more than 40 different property management systems, and we've been able to compile statistically significant data for vacation rental destinations in every corner of the US by going directly to the vacation rental source rather than scraping from OTAs. This provides accuracy that is unavailable entirely from scraping. Key data makes vacation rental managers' lives easier by providing more than 20 different tools that allow them to monitor their performance both internally and against the rest of the market. More than 20 reports have been specifically designed to help vacation rental managers do revenue management, marketing, owner communications, and a lot more. Destinations can then use the composite market data to get reliable report cards and forecasts of what the short-term lodging market is actually doing. Destinations get the ability to see where their guests are coming from without the complication or delay of surveys. For example, understanding the effects of COVID-19 was simple for destinations using key data, as they were able to see the ebb and flow of bookings, revenue, cancellation, and more in real time. These destinations use the data to prepare budgets for the revenue they could see coming rather than cutting budgets and positions, preparing for economic hardship that they feared but didn't actually end up having. These real-time insights are recognized with and for hurricanes, marketing campaigns, and community events, all with no waiting, no surveys, and 100% accuracy. I hope you learned a little bit on today's webinar of Short-Term Rentals 101. Please reach out to us if you have any questions about the vacation rental market or what the data is doing in your destination. We'd love to help you out. It's Daniel at keydatadashboard.com. Thank you very much for attending, and I hope you have a great day.